Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Mile High Game Guys board gaming podcast. I'm your host, Adrian.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're coming to you socially distanced and presented by our sponsors, Gray Fox Games.
Woo.
Huzzah.
Indeed. Yeah, so is this the first time we've recorded an entire episode remotely?
We've had one person be remote before, me or Jeff. I don't think we've ever had you be remote, though.
Which I guess technically, if the studio is home base, I'm still not remote. I'm here in the studio, so I show up when it's time to record, guys. Yeah. You need to step up your game. Get some hazmat suits and get over here.
Like full-on Outbreak hazmat suits. And if you've seen Outbreak recently, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that'll sound real good on the audio. Just behind a plastic film.
So what have you guys been playing? I still really like Blood Bowl.
Yeah, so before we get too derailed talking about watching movies like Outbreak, let's focus on what we've been playing recently. So we didn't have a stream. We've taken a couple weeks off here, so we've kind of sorted through social distancing stuff, and we're trying to think of things we can still stream, you know, like Tabletop Simulator and Tabletopia.
Maybe if somebody actually gets it, then we could do that, Adrian, is all I'm saying.
I know.
It was on sale.
It was on sale, and you just didn't get it.
I mean, you're not wrong.
In fact, I'm right.
This is all true things that you're saying.
The most correct kind of right.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So no recent streams. And then I myself have not actually played any board games, even in the 2 weeks. Like, Megan and I have a couple times we've been on the couch and been like, do you want to play a board game? It's like, kind of, but I also don't want to get off the couch. So, and then we just haven't. But I think we're going to try and play and maybe try and stream something to player tomorrow, because we both have tomorrow off. So we might try and do something during the day that you guys can all put on, you know, well, I guess, yeah. Nobody, we're not streaming, so nobody's going to know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So maybe on, you know, when you're listening to this on Wednesday, you'll have seen Megan and I do a stream on Monday. And if you didn't, then we just didn't do it. So
great.
Anyway, Zach, what about you? What have you been playing?
Well, since I'm a responsible person and have Tabletop Simulator already, some of us started wanting to play board games online, and like we even made a Discord so people can trash talk each other while they're not seeing each other. And so some of us decided to, you know, look, because if you look through the workshop, it technically says like 30,000 games, and you know, a lot of them are repeats and stuff like that, but there's a shit ton of pretty much any game you want is probably on there.
It's like surprising how much is on there.
Like, I saw the World of Warcraft, the board game with its expansions on there, and I was like, hey, Jeff.
Oh, God.
Has anyone got like 9 to 12 hours?
But it's got like TI4 on there. It's got Mansions of Madness. It's got a Barrage. It's got a whole
King's
bunch
Dilemma.
of stuff. King's Dilemma is even on there.
Somebody in Slack, I think it was Paul, was like joking about trying to recreate you guys' game and whether it would be worth the effort.
I don't think so.
For how deep we are, it'd be easier just to start a new one.
Yes, it would. But I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
No.
So what we decided, or one of the games that I saw in there was Legendary Encounters Alien, and I looked through it, and it was, you know, it was really well done. It obviously took a little while to sort of grok how all the controls work, and like how you shuffle decks, how you pick up like 1, 2, 3 cards, how you deal it to yourself, how you're putting stuff out, like making the different movies decks was a little annoying at first, trying to figure it all out. But once you get used to it, it actually goes fairly quickly. And we played, we did Alien 2. So it was me, Paul,
also known as Aliens.
Aliens, yes, Alien also, sorry. But it was me, Paul, I want to say May, and then Ryan, and
generic white guy number 7 on Slack.
Yep. And the Gentleman's Fourth, I think, on the Tricarion special that we
yes,
stream that we had.
Gentleman's Last.
Yes. But we played Aliens and we got hosed really quickly. No, we didn't do Aliens. We did Alien 3, and we just so one of the beginning cards is a sprinter that's 4 damage to hit, but once you reveal it, then any time at the beginning of their phase where the cards move, it moves 1 extra step. And we kept revealing them in the complex, and it kept throwing extra cards into our combat zone. And we always had 3 damage in our hand. We never had 4. So we ended up losing fairly quickly. And then we cut the dead weight by Ryan leaving. And then so was me, Paul, and May. We were like, let's just try it again. And it was a lot more successful that time. We all survived. I didn't get a chest burster like I did in that previous one, which was good. But it went fairly well, and I definitely enjoyed playing it with people. Now every so often you had to be like, hey, whose turn is it? Blah, but that stuff normally happens in regular games too. But
so at least that's also simulated.
Exactly, yes. What we need to do is we need to have because you can have spectators in there. What you need to do is have 20 people spectate and start asking people questions, and then we can truly experience game night playing that game.
Yeah. What game are you playing? Oh, you don't know what a deck builder is?
Yeah. Here, let me explain it to you for 5 minutes real quick.
Yeah.
Well, it's my turn. But no, I'm really excited to try out a bunch of other games. I think some of us are going to do Arkham Horror 3rd Edition at some point. It's just the base game, but there's a lot of these mods have they're scripted elements that basically set up the whatever scenario or stuff for you, and it really I was really worried at first when I didn't see that it was scripted, because I took the main one of the main tiles and I took one of the street tiles, and I was spending 2 or 3 minutes lining it up because it would be oh, it's slightly over, so it's hanging, and I was like, God damn it, I need to fix that. And then I saw it scripted, and you could just hit place it, and it would just place all of the map for you, and I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, because Tabletop Simulator just gives you the bits on a lot of these and you just have to know how to set it up and do everything.
Which is why it's crazy how much people have spent time-wise on these to get them to work.
Yeah.
The Arkham Horror LCG, Super Complete Edition, has all these campaigns. It's super scripted. It's it has all this amazing art. It has all the cards from all the expansions in there, and they're all set up in their own little things. And it has a deck builder that can help you construct a deck in there too. It's bonkers how much time someone put into that. So
we've just always had the luxury of having a weekly many dozens of people game night to be able to play all these games at, and not everyone does, and it clearly shows with Tabletop Simulator.
Exactly, yeah. But I definitely do want to play some more on there. And I was just searching. I was like, oh, let me look at this Marvel Champions. They have Marvel Champions on there too, but they also have a lot of fan made characters in there. So they have Fantastic Four, X-Men. They have a Pokemon trainer. They have Mega Man.
I'm out.
Yeah, done.
No,
stop.
They have Justice League characters too, and then they have villains, all those different villains. It's weird, crazy how much just extra effort people have put into that.
It's weird how much free time people have.
Yeah.
Well, and it's a lot of those were built even before everybody got all this extra free time.
Yes.
Exactly, yeah.
This was before the end times.
Before the end times,
yeah.
The before times.
Yeah. Anything else? Before the Rona started going around.
Exactly.
Wordy word books?
Yeah, the wordy word books. But that's all I've been playing board game wise.
Okay. What about you, Jeff?
So we're going to start the Bloody Minute a little earlier, because that's what I've been playing.
Don't worry, it'll probably end at the same time, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So have you not played any other board games besides Blood Bowl?
Correct.
Do we just want to do Bloody Minute at normal Bloody Minute and go into banter for a little bit?
Sure.
Okay, let's do that, because this way, like right on the back of all the time jokes that we just did, while it's fresh in my mind, taking like 2 weeks off of all podcasting and having no game nights, holy fuck, I have so much free time. I'm still
It's
working
weird.
40 hours a week,
Yeah.
and I have so much free time. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, I felt that same thing when I stopped doing Lyft. I was like, oh man, even doing everything else, I was still like, oh, I have all these free days to do things.
Yeah, no kidding, because you were doing a lot of driving like on the weekends and stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah. So I'm assuming, I know a lot of us have been playing video games because like that's one reason why we hadn't been playing a lot of board games was because just had to keep rocking and rolling.
That is correct.
For Carl.
For Carl. So for video game wise, Jeff and I and Paul and generic white guy number 7 and Thursby have been playing a lot of Deep Rock Galactic, which
Yeah,
go
like
ahead.
four player cooperative shooter.
Yes,
Minor mission thing.
pretty much.
There's a progression system in there. Like there's 4 different classes. They all level up and unlock different traits that you buy with gold that you mine and like rare materials.
Okay.
And then you have assignments that you go through a bunch of different missions across the whole like deep rock that you're mining out, and those unlock secondary like alternate weapons or promote your character so you can do deep dives that are like a 3 mission chain back to back to back that you don't get to go back and resupply and heal. You just go to the next mission. And then there's some crafting that you can do, which is just unlocking cosmetics or like an overclocked version of a gun that'll have like the gunner's minigun. It'll do extremely more damage, but he can't move while he uses it.
Yeah.
Little variants like that. It reminded me a lot of like the weapon things from Team Fortress 2, like just kind of like weird,
Super
different,
specialized,
alternate
yeah.
versions of regular guns.
Yes, I would agree with that.
And your dwarves.
And your dwarves. Yeah.
And you're killing a lot of bugs
So many bugs.
in
including-
various underground environments.
Yep. Think of it sort of as like Starship Troopers amount of bugs.
Yeah, it's certainly gotten to that level on some of the higher difficulties we've done.
Yes, it has.
Yeah.
And one thing I do like that each one of the classes is very different, but you can play like multiple people can be the same class if you want. So you have like Jeff is the driller, so he drills things because normally you have to get at the dirt and stuff with like a pickaxe, which
Right
takes
click.
a while. Yeah. Whereas Jeff with his dual drilling arms just
Yep.
burrows through the ground like a fucking mole.
Yes, it's extremely useful.
It is. Every time Paul and I play when Jeff isn't there, we're always just like, God damn it, we wish we had the driller. But a lot of these caverns are vast and tall, and it can be hard to reach some of those things. So like I'm the scout, I have this grappling hook that I can shoot and zip up to the ceiling and grab stuff or pickaxe from over there, and so I'm very mobile. Paul is the engineer, so he can make like turrets and then create platforms that like I can hop on or that other people can hop on to make it easier
And I think
to move.
they can stop falling damage too.
Yeah, I think so. Because every time Paul has missed those when jumping down, he dies.
Yes.
And then there's also the gunner, which is just real good at killing stuff. So
Yeah, and then they
And it
have
has-
like zip lines they
Yes.
can make.
Yep,
But you can go up or down them.
that other people can, but they're sort of slow. But yeah.
Yes, it's been fun. We've been playing that on evenings on the Discord that we've created.
It looks cool, but I know that as soon as I start playing it, you guys will move on to another game.
Well,
so,
the problem is you have to get to level 25 and then promote, and then you can do the content that we've been doing.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, so either you'll move on to a new game or you just won't ever play with me. So either way, I'm fucked if I buy it.
Yeah.
I mean, for how little Thursby and Ryan have been playing, I mean, there's always that floating 4th spot.
Yes. Yeah. But as we add more people, then it'll get a little bit more crowded, and eventually just two different squads.
Yeah.
Squad number 1 and Squad B.
Hey.
But also, Jeff, I don't know if you've played any more of this, but Half-Life Alyx just came out for the VR just in time. So it's nice to go to a city where things are going just a little bit better than they are here.
They have quarantine doors.
They do. But so yeah, a Half-Life game finally came out after, what was it, 2007 with episode 2?
Yeah,
Half-Life
been...
2, episode 2.
Yeah.
It's whenever Portal came out.
Oh, maybe that was 2004 then. I don't know. It's been a while, basically.
It was whenever the orange box, right?
Yes. That was episode 1, I think, was in the orange box.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was released October 10th, 2007.
Okay, I was right.
The orange box is indeed episode 2.
Yeah. Oh, it was 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's what introduced Aperture, and it was in episode 2. So the Portal and Half-Life universes are in the same universe. This is where that got confirmed.
Gotcha.
Oh,
okay.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah.
But it's a full-fledged VR game. I'm playing it on my Oculus Quest with through a link basically. So it's just a large USB-C cable that's plugged in, and then in order for me to boot up Half-Life Alyx, I have to turn on my Oculus Quest, enable the Oculus Link, go into the Oculus software on my computer, do virtual desktop to open up Steam VR, and then in Steam VR, then I can open up Half-Life Alyx.
That sounds like a big pain in the ass.
It is a pain in the ass.
Yeah, Jesus.
I've been playing it on my Index, and I haven't played much of it, only about the first hour, because my roommate is using the living room for a work-at-home office, so I can't really break that out in the middle of the day.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah. So I did a little bit of the sitting in a very small space, and played it for a little bit.
Which I've heard isn't too bad.
It wasn't bad.
But it's
no.
Yeah. But it's definitely
I just had to be
nice.
careful.
Yeah. Even when standing, you have to be careful, especially if you have a low ceiling. I almost jammed my finger throwing a grenade. Basically, at one point, you have to throw a grenade into a vent, and so I was trying to aim up, and I threw it and just smacked the ceiling, and I was like, God damn it!
That's why they didn't put melee in the game.
Yes. Yep.
Because they didn't want people flailing with a melee weapon and just smashing literally everything in their rooms.
Yeah,
which is kind of weird for a Half-Life game that like the crowbar is like so like iconic.
But that's true. But I also read a thing where they were basically saying they looked into giving you a crowbar, but then no matter what, people were just like, yeah, I'm feeling great as Gordon Freeman, man. This is a lot of fun. And so they would they just even wouldn't get. Or it just took a lot of people a lot longer to get that you were playing Alyx, you're not Gordon Freeman, and so they're like, maybe we'll just do the gun. But
yeah.
It is, it's very immersive. They did a really good job. It looked like I'm running it on medium, and it still looks really good. Like I have the minimum video card for it, which is a 1060, and I was surprised how well it looks or how well it runs at medium.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I don't know what I would have to go back and look at what I'm running it on, but I think it's probably high. Looks real good.
Yeah.
Didn't have any frame issues. I'm running at like 144 hertz or whatever on the Index, so the like ultra high refresh rate is fun.
Yeah, I've so the Quest is 72 hertz, so 72 frames, and I think only once. I think my computer was doing something else too. And so it's
okay. Let me just install this thing in the background while you're trying to use your VR.
Yeah, and it started to chug a little bit, and once if it goes below that 72, then you can start to notice.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I don't like what's going on right here.
Then the vomit rocket begins.
Yeah. But otherwise, it's been fine for me. I've been doing. Have you been doing teleport or the free movement?
Teleport. I didn't.
Okay.
After I played that pistol whip. With like the treadmill, I was like, I guess that was while I was standing though. So I mean, sitting, I could probably do the like regular analog movement. I can try that.
I've been using the free movement from that, and at some point you're gonna get a flashlight on your hand. And then once you get a flashlight, you're like, oh no, this is not going to be good.
Oh no.
Because everything becomes all dark, and you're just like, oh god. And it's definitely very immersive in that regard. So
Half-Life's a little bit of a horror game.
Yeah. I think it's supposed to be like 14 to 17 hours for a full playthrough of it.
Yeah.
So It's like this is definitely like I would say the VR game for like story based, like to actually be a game versus as much as I enjoy Pistol Whip and like Beat Saber, there are more activities in that regard, I would say.
Yeah.
But like this is like you can tell they put a lot of effort in this thing.
Yes. It's been the first game in a long time from Valve.
Yeah.
Not counting Artifact.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Like the day Half-Life Alyx released, they updated the Artifact webpage of like, news coming soon. So I guess now that it's out, they're going to try and go back to Artifact and
Gotcha.
make
I heard
Artifact 2.
Nice. I've heard they really enjoyed making it, though, so here's hoping that it won't be another 15 years for another Half-Life game after this one.
Yeah. A lot of people have been why can't I play this game with like a controller and not in VR? Because the game would suck.
Yeah, the game would be real bad. It's very slow paced, which works for VR. It 100% works for the what it's in. But if you try to mod it to just be a regular game, it would be like, man, this is so easy because there's only like a couple enemies. But like when you have like 3 head crabs rushing at you in just regular Half-Life, that's fine. You're like, yeah, whatever, click. Like when you're doing it and it's real life and you keep accidentally dropping the mag and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah. I have to reload this gun.
Yep. Which there are buttons to help with it, but it's still immersive in that. And one of my favorite stupid things that it makes you do is that like there's a lot of moving around things, but occasionally you'll have like big barrels blocking you and you have to use both your hands in order to move it. And so it's you're just like, God damn it, I gotta pick up this barrel and fucking move it across so I can get through this goddamn door.
Yeah, that was the hardest part for me in my setup, to have room enough to move large objects in VR.
Yes.
I don't have a VR set, so I don't have to worry about any of that.
Correct.
Suckers.
Good.
Yeah, you should get one, though. We still need to do the Star Trek thing at some point,
Yeah,
Jeff.
the Bridge Commander.
Yes.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm almost 100% going to spend my $1,200 COVID stimulus on a VR set.
I mean,
you can't get one anyways.
Yeah, you can't get one right now anyways. It's all sold out.
Well, I can still order it, okay?
True.
Yep.
You'll get it
because I'll definitely
just in time.
get whatever the Steam one is.
Yeah.
Index,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then you make sure your computer's good enough for it.
Yeah. Megan's 1,200 is probably upgrading her computer. And then I'm pretty sure the podcast computer should be good enough for it.
What is it?
What is what?
Like what's your video card in the podcast computer?
1660.
Okay, yeah, then you're fine. Yeah, I was gonna upgrade mine to a 2070 Super, but I'm probably gonna hold off on that now a little bit for a little longer because I thought that Alyx would look a lot worse, or like I could play it, but it wouldn't be good, if that makes sense. And so the fact that the minimum or the medium runs it so well that I'm like, I don't really see a point in upgrading right now. So
yeah, I'm probably gonna try and talk Megan into upgrading her desktop, so because she also wants VR for like No Man's Sky and shit like that. And so I'll try and talk her, and I'll buy the VR set, and then she can upgrade the desktop downstairs so that it will be able to play it as well, and then we'll be good to go.
Well, remember, you'll have to, if you get the Steam one, then you'll have the light boxes that you're gonna have to deal with. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, which will be easier to put up downstairs, I think, than anywhere.
Yeah.
But that's a problem for future Adrian.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so I haven't been playing a shit ton of VR stuff, but I have been playing video games, mostly just 2 video games. I was playing No Man's Sky for a while, and then I kind of got tired of it because although it's deeper than it was when it came out, it's still really just kind of miles wide and a few inches deep. And I finally just got tired of doing the same thing over and over and over again. And there was a sale on the Stellaris expansions, so I bought all of the Stellaris expansions that I didn't already have, and now I've been playing Stellaris a lot. So slowly conquering an entire galaxy.
Yeah, I fell off Stellaris because they haven't updated the AI in that game in forever, and it's terrible because they've completely changed like how populations work and planets, and then they didn't update the AI to work with the new systems. So the game, after early game, the AI is just sort of shits the bed.
Have they not updated? Because it seems to be holding its own pretty well in my game. So either I really fucking suck.
Well, it depends on how far you are in the game too.
I think I'm roughly mid game. I'm not sure. I've never actually finished a game of Stellaris, and I'm not really sure what the overall timeline is.
Yeah,
but
I know they either recently released Federations or are about to. And
they did. It was one of the ones I got on sale.
Gotcha. That's the brand new one, I think.
Yes, that's the newest.
But I think that didn't even change the AI. But that's like the number one problem everyone has with the game is the AI's not good anymore.
Oh, well, I still have fun with it. So, although I've had since the new Federation update, like I have had less success at forming a massive federation that I then just get a lead by default.
Yeah.
They don't cooperate as much with that. And they're like, no, we're going to use more of a rotating leadership, so you don't just get to run the entire Federation and have access to all the Federation fleets to go, fight your enemies for you. It's like, aw, but why not? Yeah. And then I got the Xbox Game Pass a while back, which now I'm really glad I did, because I have a lot more time to play Xbox games. And I started playing I think it's called a Plague Tale.
Yeah.
And that's really good so far.
Yeah, I heard that was pretty good.
I haven't gotten very far.
Unless you don't like rats, and then
unless you don't like
the game
rats,
is not for you.
But yeah, haven't gotten very far, but I'm enjoying it. Yeah, that's really all I've been playing. Actually, not a whole lot else. Megan got the new expansion, standalone expansion sequel. That's the word I was looking for. The sequel for that. God damn it. Survival game where you crash land on an underwater alien planet. Subnautica. Yeah, Subnautica.
I was going to suggest when you get VR, play that game in VR because I've heard it's really good.
Yes. So that and No Man's Sky are the two big ones, which there's somebody that I'm friends with on Steam who I know is from our local group, but I don't remember who it actually is. But they messaged me a while back and were like, hey, I see you play a lot of No Man's Sky. What do you think about it? I'm thinking about getting it for my VR set. And I was like, I like it. And then they got back to me 2 weeks later and were like, yeah, I got it. It's fucking amazing in VR. I was like, oh, I want VR.
Yeah, I played it a little bit in VR, but it was okay.
So, yeah. Anything else exciting going on for you guys?
Well, I've been playing a lot of The Hunt Showdown with my friends every night. Which I've talked about in the past. We just keep hunting those weird, gross creatures in the Louisiana swamps.
Seems right.
And then other people shoot us every once in a while with Winfield rifles. And then just a lot of one of my favorite Steam games, Blood Bowl 2. I've been playing a lot of that too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing else worthy of talking about, Jeff?
I think. I
in
don't remember.
In your life, maybe not video game related.
Well, I never talked about any of my video games. All you assholes talked about yours.
Oh,
I talked about your games, Jeff.
Oh, thank you. I think I'm done with World of Warcraft again. I sort of hit the end of what I felt. I went through the whole raid, and now apparently content is done until the next expansion. So I canceled that subscription.
Seems right.
New Hearthstone expansion comes out next week, so I'm looking forward to that. Played through and beat the entirety of Doom Eternal, which I enjoyed greatly, but not as much as Doom 2016.
That's what I've been hearing.
They took the story too serious in this one, and put a ton of lore in there. There was a massive time skip. You can find out through the little collectible lore things in the game that there's at least a 13-year time skip in the game. And it's basically just here's a weird Doom 2. And then the combat was exhausting. It wasn't all that fulfilling. Ammo was super limited to begin with, and the game's about going through and using your chainsaw to refill your ammo and stuff like that. But chainsaw fuel was so low, and I ran out of ammo a couple times, and I was they nerfed the regular melee to where before the general zombie junk you could melee and kill with like one hit, and it would give you a little bit of ammo. It doesn't even do that now. It takes like 8 or 10 melee hits to kill like a generic everyday zombie, unless you do some damage to them. But if you're out of ammo, you can't do damage to them. And in the 2016 Doom, you had a pistol with unlimited ammo that you could do some damage with. That's not in this game. So you have to be extremely conservative with how you're playing, which I was like, eh. I mean, I beat it, but the multiplayer is kind of cool. 2 people play as demons, 1 player plays as the Doom guy, and then you fight each other. But then the monsters can spawn like AI monsters, so it actually feels like one of the in-game combat arenas when stuff starts getting spawned in and stuff.
Gotcha.
That's neat.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's been... I don't remember if I was on since Ori and the Will of the Wisps came out. I
think you talked about that. Yeah.
I beat the entirety of that. Super good, again.
Nice.
Yeah.
But nothing else, Jeff? Nothing else worth talking about?
Nope, not anything at all.
Okay. All right, okay.
No. So I went and got myself a new job, which is super exciting.
Yeah. Now the process is complete. We have all done that over the course of this podcast.
Yes, over the past 3.5 years.
Yep.
Well, I mean, technically, Jeff had already gotten a new job at least once on the podcast because he was working at Target when we started this thing.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
So you getting your job officially, Zach, completed the cycle.
No, what it means is that you're gonna lose your job, Adrian, now, and then you're gonna.
Don't you put that evil on me? Don't you put that evil on me?
I'm saying he started the cycle over again. I'm gonna lose mine too. Okay, that's what it sounds like now. So don't worry.
No.
Yeah, because so I'll be changing, still staying in the brewery world. I'm changing from Epic Brewing here in Denver to Avery Brewing up in Boulder.
Which is a significant improvement, at least, if nothing else, in terms of quality of beer.
Yeah, Avery is huge and massive and has an amazing, like, custom-made brewery that they built in 2015 in Gun Barrel, Colorado.
That's even more north than Boulder.
Yeah, it's a little northeast.
Yes.
Yeah. So it sounds to me like you're going to be moving up north towards us.
That's
Jeff,
that's the long-term goal, but I'm still going to school, so I don't want to get too far away.
We'll just hope that they continue just doing it online only, and then you'll be fine.
That's what's happening now. So.
Yep.
So yeah, I'll be doing the same thing for them that I was doing for Epic. Actually, it's a step down responsibility-wise, but a step up in benefits and pay and everything else. So.
I mean, in a lot of ways, that's just a win. You have to, be responsible for less and somehow get better benefits and get paid more. I mean, I'd take that.
Yeah. Yeah, I did the online the final interview on Friday, so just a couple days ago, and as long as everything doesn't explode.
Well, I don't know if you've heard about this new thing called COVID, but
Yes.
Hey, liquor stores are essential, and so that means that they need to be filled with beer and other things. So they'll be fine.
All the breweries are still running in Denver. All the tap rooms are closed, but you can get to-go beer still. So breweries still open. It's just
they even changed the liquor laws to allow like some bars and breweries to where like you can go in basically with like a mason jar and they'll just fill it with beer and you can leave with it straight from the tap. You don't even have to get like a crowler or anything. You could just be like, hey, I've got a mason jar with a lid on it. You want to fill that up with beer for me?
Yeah. I know some bars are able to sell like whole bottles.
Yeah.
And even like mixed drinks. You can just get to go.
Yep.
Which is weird in Colorado, but I mean like some places like Louisiana, you've been able to do that forever.
I mean, now they just need to lighten up on like the public intox laws so that I can still have, a walk with the dog and my new liquor drink fresh from the local restaurant.
Yeah. That has not been relaxed. That's for sure.
No, it is not.
So yeah, new job, Avery Brewing. They have a restaurant built into it. I get like half off at that restaurant.
Which is ridiculous because that food is so good there.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty jealous about that.
Yeah. So I'll be getting lunch at the Avery restaurant every day. Their beer, like free beer policy is like pretty well structured. It's like a point system, so you can save up points from week to week, and once you hit like a certain point, you can get like all the really good like barrel-aged like crazy stuff like Tweak and Rumpkin and things like that. It starts at taking home a case a week, so...
Well, it sounds to me, Jeff, like there's already like a waiting list, like a whole list of beers that you're supposed to get already.
Yeah.
So I don't know when you're actually going to get any beer, but
Yeah, I'm sorry to tell you, Jeff, that your first like year's worth of beer is spoken for, man.
It's going to be supplying all my friends.
yeah.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
And,
We really
and
do.
conventions, if they happen.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of, Geekway at least is still open as of right now, but
Yeah, they're in
Like, they actually-
late June, so
early to mid June, like
Yeah.
11th to 14th, and they
Okay.
did actually. You said, Adrian, that they actually like met up and still decided to continue to have it for now, right?
Yeah, so the most recent thing they put out, I'm in their Slack channel, and like they put out an announcement there where they were like, here's kind of what the situation is, because they also had to kind of come up with a response, because a major closure that we're not going to actually talk about in news because we got other news, but Tabletop Events announced they're shutting down, and they have been like the ticket master for board game conventions. And they handle Geekway's tickets. And so Geekway was like, oh shit, we were going to hopefully wait until like April to make any kind of a decision. But now this has kind of forced our hand. And so basically they came out and said, hey, we don't know yet if we're going to be even able to have it. Like a lot of states have things limiting big gatherings like that. So they might not even be legally able to. They just don't know yet how this is going to play out over the next little while. So they're like, right now, if you want to for sure get a refund right now, you should do it through Tabletop Events while they're still a thing, because they have like a hard shutdown that's coming up where they're like no refunds, no nothing past this point, directly through Tabletop Events. Then they said, they being Geekway in this case, said that they'll keep an eye on things and they'll update at some point in April. And ultimately, if you want a refund or are unable to go, they will make sure you can be paid, like you can get your money back. But they said if everyone does that, it will almost certainly be the end of Geekway, because they've already put a lot of non-refundable deposits down and things. And so if everybody also pulls out their money, it will like bankrupt the company they made to run Geekway. So they're asking people to trust them that if for some reason it doesn't even happen this year, anybody who bought a ticket this year will be given a ticket to the next Geekway whenever it happens, whether that's, in the fall, or if they just push it off until next spring, summer, and so like a lot of the patrons and stuff have been like, yeah, like we're patron, because we support you. We get like the patron tickets to support you guys. So we'll just wait for the next time. Yeah. So a lot of people have already kind of basically said like, that's fair. And we'll just wait, no matter what.
Yeah.
I would roll over tickets.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, I would rather be out $60 than let me rephrase that. I would rather the Mile High Game guys be out $60 than
$60 a ticket for 3 tickets.
Yes.
So you'd rather the Mile High Game guys be out $180 and have Geekway again.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Same. So
no.
Zach, podcast vote.
I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to think about this.
Come on, Zach. Let me have this one. This is a good one to let me have.
I just got to hear both sides. That's all.
Oh my god.
Equal time, Adrian. Equal time.
Oh no. Oh, I'm sad now. Anyway, unless you guys have anything else in banter, I know Jeff's got like just 1,000,001 Blood Bowl things. So let's move over to a bloody minute. And you can take it away, Jeff, because you've been playing a shit ton of Blood Bowl.
Yes, I have. And I'm not going to go over every individual game or anything like that. But our in-person league is, of course, canceled, even though it's just one-on-one games, especially now that Denver's in full-on, like, quarantine, shelter-at-home-esque rules that got moved into the state level in the last week. we moved our Blood Bowl League to online. It's not like the NAF OBBLM league is still there, so it's not like we're continuing the in-person league online. It's just we have made another league. Fumble has been one of the places to play Blood Bowl for many years. My account started in March 2005 on Fumble, so I've been playing it for a while. Ant has, of course, played an absolute metric fuck ton on Fumble, so he's made a kill league for Fumble. We have, I think, 10 coaches in that. I'm playing a new team that I've not really played before, Shambling Undead. Shambling Undead are very similar to Necromantic Undead. Necromantic is sort of like the universal monsters of Blood Bowl. It's like werewolves, Frankensteins, wights, and ghouls. Shambling Undead is mummies, wights, ghouls, and zombies. But Shambling Undead has probably the most reliable big guy in the game. The Mummy. He's Strength 5, Edge 1, Armor 9, only move 3, which is very slow. Like a Troll is move 4, an Ogre is move 5, Croxagore is move 6, so he is quite slow. But he has no Negatrait, no Bonehead, no Really Stupid, no Wild Animal. You don't have to roll to be able to use him, which is super nice, but he still doesn't have general like block access and stuff like that. So I was interested in trying him. Mostly I wanted to try the team because they have really cheap linemen. Zombies are only 40k, and I wanted to play a team that fouls more.
That seems like a good team to use it with.
Yeah, so I can get a zombie with like dirty player, play with like 13 on, so I'd have 2 on the bench, and to be able to foul a little more, because fouls can be super useful. In the Kill League, I am currently 1-1-2, which is not great. Ant is playing Wood Elves because he's never really played elf teams before, so he's trying those out in the league. The first skill he got was plus strength on a War Dancer, so
oh god,
yeah, I think he is currently in first place with points wise with the league. Yeah, he's a big 5-0 right now on his win-loss record. Tom Photos, who I played in the last tournament as Norse, is playing he was playing Wood Elves in the last tournament. He's playing Norse in this. He's in second place. I'm currently in sixth place. I'm doing well casualty-wise until fairly recently. My casualty differential was pretty good with 15, but now the Chaos Renegades and another Ogre team that are below me have a little bit better casualty difference. There's 2 Ogre teams, an Amazon team, a Goblin team, Skaven, Dark Elf, Norse, Wood Elf. So not the usual meta that I see in all of these leagues with like a lot of dwarves or chaos dwarves. I think everyone was just like, I want to play something fun. So we have like 3 stunty teams in this 10 team league going right now. And it's going super fast because we can play online. A Fumble match uses Java, so it's pretty old, but it has the most current rule set, which Blood Bowl 2 does not even have.
No, it does not.
Unfortunately. But we were able to get through almost all the way to the 4th round already, with 5 games in each of those rounds. So there's been 21 games of this league already played, of 9 rounds. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are flying through it.
Yeah, so that's the more competitive one. I've also made a Shambling Undead team for just the ranked league in Fumble. Fumble's had its highest usage and membership in years in the past week, so there's plenty of games getting played. My ranked Undead team is doing a lot better. It's 2-2-1, but this is against just a general pool of people. They're like, hey, I want to play a game with this team. And you just have a big list, and then you just do a little check mark. I'll play against you, I'll play against you, I'll play against you. And then whoever responds first will start up a game. And then, because Bullshit Paul hates Fumble, because it's old and uses Java, he started up a Blood Bowl 2 Kill League that I am also in. That one, I am playing the worst team in the game. I am
vampires,
playing.
right?
I am playing vampires. I think they have the worst win record. So what vampires are, they're the best individual players, I would say. They're move 6, strength 4, edge 4, armor 8, and they have, I think, all but one skill access without doubles, but they don't start with much skill-wise. They start with Hypnotic Gaze and Bloodlust. Hypnotic Gaze is if you move, or I think that's about it. If you move, you can at the beginning or end of your action, you make an opponent adjacent to you make an agility test with modifiers. If they fail that, they lose their entire tackle zone and have to activate in their next turn to be able to regain their tackle zone. So basically, you give someone bonehead.
Gotcha.
So if someone has a cage on the ball, you just get some vampires next to them, Hypnotic Gaze the corners, and then just blitz in with literally anything. The rest of the team are thralls. They're kind of like weaker. They're like humans. So move 6, strength 3, edge 3, armor 7. Where the team gets bad is Bloodlust. So what Bloodlust is, every time you want to activate a vampire, you need a 2+. If you want to do anything with it, if you want to stand them up, which is a move action, if you want to blitz, if you want to foul, if you want to do anything, you have to roll a 2+. If you roll a 1, you can re-roll it. But if you fail, they have to end their turn next to a thrall, which they will then bite and feed on their teammate, which causes an auto injury. No armor roll, goes straight to injury. So it can stun, KO, or casualty. So you're just rolling 2d6, 1 through 7, they're stunned, 8, 9, they're KO'd, 10+, they're casualtied. But the worst that can happen is badly hurt. So, that you can't kill thralls with it, but you are knocking your own team members out extremely easily. So vampires run with a ton of rerolls. So I started with 4. I might get 5, but you need a ton of extra thralls and an apothecary to really run a vampire team. The name of my vampire team are the Tiny Fangs. And in my first match was against Thursby, against his goblin team, who, if I'm looking here correctly, are named Herder Jeff is playing Vamps.
Oh, so it was the one that I watched, or was that a different
Yes.
one?
No,
Okay.
that was that one. But I'm currently only 0-1-1. I lost the match against Thursby, which should have been a tie at 2-2, but I had some really unlucky tripwires, which would have tied the game up at both halves. So it was a fairly competitive game because we were both rolling like trash.
Yes, you were.
And then in the second game, I played against Tom Fotis' Dark Elves because he always plays tryhard teams. He failed like 32% of his 2+ dodges or something. It was absolutely insane how many dodges he was failing. But I was also equally failing as many Bloodlust rolls. So I was eating my own team, and I think we both damaged our own teams instead of us actually hurting each other. Because one of his runners failed a dodge, which was 2+ reroll, failed, and then got sent off with an injury, which was dead. Then he used his apothecary, which rerolled into also dead. So his runner killed himself on a failed dodge. And then before all this, I was just playing around on Blood Bowl 2 because I was at home and wanting to play Blood Bowl and couldn't. So I started up a general ranked undead team on Blood Bowl 2, who was actually doing fairly well. Who has played 8 games. I'm 5-1-2 on there, and has definitely had the best stat ups of the 3 undead teams I'm running at the exact same time. In their last game, they got a plus Edge White and a plus Move Ghoul. So that's the first stat ups I've even had in any of these games. And then finally, there is a really bullshit league on Fumble. It's the Stunty League. It's a whole bunch of fan-made, very lightly wafted, balanced teams that are all stunty. So they're all like Strength 2 or Strength 1, low armor sometimes. and they're just totally crazy. So I'm playing the vampire version of that because they have block and general access, which Stunty can't get, so they can't get block really without doubles. The one and only game I've played against that was against the Fae, who are total horseshit. They have 3 tree men with Bonehead, not Deep Root, or Take Root. Still strength 6, armor 9 instead of 10. And the rest of his team are like leprechauns and like Fae enchantresses that have like hypnotic gaze or strip ball, and they're only strength 1, but they have all of these awesome skills and like armor 7 or 8 or something ridiculous, and like crazy high movement, like movement 8, like a skink. So I don't want to play against Fae anymore because they're super broken. I did not have fun playing against them because most stunty teams have a downside. Like his, I guess, is being strength 1, but they all dodge on 3+ because they're stunty and can get wherever they want and have super high speed. So unless you like hit them and get lucky with the armor roll, it's really hard. And 3 tree men, so that are impossible to hit. So yeah, that is the 20 games of Blood Bowl I have played in the last 2 weeks.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Fucking bonkers.
Yes.
Ton of Blood Bowl.
Yes. 20 plus games. No, 20 exactly games.
20 exactly.
Yes. I don't remember. Did I talk about the last real life one that I played? It's been so long ago.
I have no idea.
It was dwarves. It's my first dwarf game. It was a no-nothing game, so it doesn't really matter. I played a game of dwarves on the tabletop, and then I've immediately changed teams.
Oh, fuck that.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, I assume you guys have not found any way to do that other
Kingdom
thing.
Death?
Yeah, that's the one. KDM
It's
hour.
definitely on Tabletop Simulator.
It is on Tabletop Simulator, and there's one that has like little circular discs. There's also one that has minis, and the minis are rough to be
Kind.
Very kind to it. The minis are rough.
I'm not sure if I looked at the same one. The one I looked at with the minis, they looked pretty decent. They seemed like 3D scans of the regular models.
Oh yeah, some of them looked fine, but like if you go to the Phoenix, you're like, oh boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh no.
But yeah, so you guys haven't committed to doing an online version of that yet?
Huh?
No, not
No,
yet.
just talking. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that leaves us ready to move on to some news and Kickstarters then.
Yes. Which there are a bit.
Indeed. We'll start off with some news.
First up in news, there was a New York Times article written by Matt Leacock talking about a pandemic that came out last week.
Yes, last week.
Yeah, and I feel like I had seen him release this like somewhere else, and then it got picked up. But I was looking, and I can't find anything like that again. So he may have just written in to the New York Times. But basically, as I'm sure most of anyone listening to this show knows, Matt Leacock designed Pandemic, and that was like one of the games that really kind of was at the forefront of like this resurgence of tabletop gaming, and it was really like kind of at the forefront of like cooperative gaming, and then later on, you know, he was one of the first to really do a legacy game. Like Risk Legacy was technically first, but then Pandemic Legacy was the one that was actually good and really showed like what legacy games can do. And continue that with Legacy Season 2, and then now Legacy Season 3 that will be coming at some point, as well as all of the other Pandemic like spin-offs. So this New York Times piece is basically, he wrote it kind of relating back to the things that went into his mind making a cooperative board game about combating a virus, viruses, on a worldwide scale, and how that relates back to what we're dealing with kind of now with Corona and COVID. And it is a really well-written little article it has some insight into like what he was thinking of when he made it in his headspace. Like, he started designing it apparently back in like 2004, right after the SARS epidemic, which, looking back now is like kind of a scary precursor to what, COVID has been. They're very similar viruses, and, it's just an interesting parallel there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good article. It'll be on the show notes.
Yeah, it's sort of how you can take the world of cooperation into the real world and how we're dealing with all this.
Yeah, and like it talks about like how it, and anybody who's played Pandemic knows you all have to work together, and if you don't, if anyone tries to go off and do their own thing, you will rapidly lose that fucking game. It's a fine balance that you've got to strike in the game between, treating symptoms and then researching the cures and like trying to keep everything going and, covering different hotspots all around the world as they pop up.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good.
And also how he's like, hey, don't price gouge my game.
Also, yes. Which apparently sales of it have shot through the roof.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a super good game that everyone should just have because it's a really good co-op to play at home.
Yep.
True that.
Feels like that game's been out forever and not just like 2008.
I know, right? I mean, that's 12 years.
Yeah.
So that's a good amount of time.
Yeah. So yeah, take a look at that article. It's good.
Indeed.
Next up in news, GMT's making a bunch of sequels to some classics, which is interesting.
Yeah, they're going in on it. So 3 big ones. They're doing sequels for Twilight Struggle, Dominant Species, and Triumph and Tragedy. So the Twilight Struggle is going to be Red Sea Conflict in the Horn of Africa, and it's going to be part of GMT's Lunchtime series. So that's like a 2-player card-driven games that you can play like over like a lunch break, basically. Like that's the idea of the Lunchtime series. So
it looks like it's a much smaller or quicker version of it, sort of like Watergate in that regard.
Yeah, and so it's really just a little bit about, it focuses down instead of being the whole world. It really focuses down to just the Red Sea area, so the Middle East and parts of North Africa there. I'm not really sure. Let's see. It is roughly, it's 1974, so it is Cold War, so it does take place kind of in that Twilight Struggle time frame, and it's still definitely like East versus West.
They go, I mean, from the little prototype they have here, it seems like it's mid-war and late war equivalent.
Yep.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just a little bit more limited scope and a shorter playing time. Uses some of the same mechanics. So like they say here in their little blurb about it, that it is supposed to be a good way to introduce new players to the Twilight Struggle system in just a shorter and simpler version.
That this seems to be exactly perfect for that.
Yeah, and it says that they can use the cards in here in Twilight Struggle and vice versa too. So I'm curious to see exactly what they mean by that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I'd be interested in that, especially if it teaches some of the basic gameplay stuff up front. You can do that in a couple games of Red Sea before, diving all the way into a full-on game of Twilight Struggle. Without
the length and curb stompiness that would inevitably happen by whoever's actually teaching the game.
Yes.
Yeah. Then next up on their sequel train, Dominant Species Marine is going to be the new one. And this was kind of hinted at back in like March of 2019, so almost a year ago, but we have a little bit more information on it now. So this is another one that's going to be kind of a little bit more narrowed in scope
of the main game.
Yep. And in this one, you're all different aquatic animals. So dinosaur, fish, cephalopod, and crustacean are the 4. And you're still trying to kind of spread around and adapt to be able to thrive in as many different habitats and have all different food options and everything like that. And then ultimately, if one of you will end the game being the dominant species, leaving the ocean and going on to land. Some of the big changes is it's a decreased player count. So instead of 2 versus 6, it's going down to 2 versus 4.
Which is real good.
Yeah. Would you ever play dominant species at 6? Like,
Nah.
When I played it, no. Like,
I can see why you would want to, but you got to know what you're getting into if you're going to play a 6-player game of dominant species.
Yes. Well, also maybe if it had done what the next change is going to be,
Yeah.
which they list on here.
Yeah. So the next big change is that the actions are now going to be taken when you place your action pawn. So in original dominant species, you had a whole round where everybody placed all of their pawns, and then you went top to bottom resolving them. And that led to
a lot of AP.
Like double AP, because people would AP over like where to place things. But then even after they decided where they were going to place, somebody, when you came back around to the resolving phase, and somebody before them, as you went down that track, resolved and did something unexpected, then all of a sudden you'd get to that person's turn and they're like, oh man, shit, that changed why I wanted to take this action, and now I don't know what to do with this action anymore. Like, oh, I was going to, expand to this area, but now it's taken over, or the things I was going to move are destroyed, or, whatever. So this should take out that second layer of AP, because you're just going to, when you place the pawn is when you're going to immediately take the action, which will also be much more like traditional worker placement that I think people are more familiar with these days.
Because dominant species is like 2004?
It's quite a bit older. I don't know if it's quite 2004, but...
well, and that did have an interesting aspect to it, but it just added on so much extra time and brain burniness that you could just, I think it's...
2010.
Yeah, I was going to say 2010.
Yeah. It seems older than that. I don't know if that's...
just because of how it looks. That's...
Yeah.
Oh, it's not that bad.
The older editions of it definitely were.
Yeah.
I think the one you have, do you still have it? I don't know.
I do still have it, yes.
I think that one was the second or third edition, so...
Yeah. So a couple other changes. There's now going to be special pawns you can get through domination that you can bump opponent pawns out of blocked or full action spaces. And then there's also going to be new spaces that can only be claimed by those special pawns. And then dominance checks are no longer going to go per tile. You're going to just do it per element. So the dominance check isn't going to be going over every single hex on the board quite as much. It'll be a little bit, that should hopefully also kind of streamline that and bring it down. And then the last thing, and this is the thing I'm the least excited about from this, they've gotten rid of default special abilities. Although then if I read the next section, it fixes it. So you choose a trait card that gives you a unique ability. Yes. So now it's variable unique abilities instead of just a static ability.
Yeah,
so
I think, and they should give an example of 10 different ones like flight, camouflage, ram feeder, producers, etc.
Yes.
So there's even more options than what you would be limited with 4 different species.
Yeah, I don't know. That one I'm maybe a little bit less interested in, but I think that's because I have less interest in playing dominant species, so I don't necessarily need a different version of it. Whereas it
was it's very much an area control style game, and so that might be.
Yeah, my tastes have changed in that regard. Because I did used to really like dominant species.
Yeah, but I think I could see myself trying this new version now, especially with only going to 4 at least, so you can't just be like, oh, well, we've got 5 or 6, let's just go ahead and do it, and then see how it goes from there. But,
right. And then the last of the 3, I don't really know. There's not a lot of information in this post about it, and I don't know shit about it overall.
I mean, we don't have to talk about it.
I was still just going to mention that Conquest and Consequence is being listed as kind of a cousin, a distant cousin to Triumph and Tragedy, which was an old World War II kind of war game.
2015, but
kind of old.
Yeah, 5 years.
I mean, for board gaming, that's a long time.
Didn't come out
Especially
more
for,
than
like,
6
war
months ago.
games.
May as well
Yep.
be old news.
Yeah. So
What's Tapestry?
but yeah, so new stuff from GMT.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm certainly more excited about this version of Dominant Species than the regular. And
Yes.
that Twilight Struggle one looks super cool.
Yeah, definitely interested in the Twilight Struggle.
Yeah.
Next up on news.
Next up on news, there is another Harry Potter Hogwarts battle expansion coming, along with some fancy little bits.
Yeah. So, the expansion is going to be Charms and Potions expansion. Mostly it's going to add the option for a 5th player, and it's going to add Ginny Weasley to the list of playable characters. So, that's kind of interesting there. And then they're going to, as the name Charms and Potions, it's going to add a lot more charm spells and potions to go into the kind of like item deck that you use for the deck building aspect of the game. And then new enemies, new allies, things like that. And then I can't tell if this is part of the expansion or if it's something else that you have to get separately, but they have new premium sleeves that have like the custom like Hogwarts crest on the back of them.
I want to say that they're separate things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it says you need 2 sets to get the base game, and the expansion's all sleeved.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Okay. I couldn't. Yeah.
No, it is sort of weird that they have them just running off like that. But yeah, at the very end, it does talk about it. So
Yeah.
I mean, they look nice.
Yeah. So Megan and I super like Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. It's a really awesome 2-player cooperative deck builder. I think they.
I was gonna say, and you guys have the first expansion, right?
Yeah, the Monster Book of Monsters. And we've beaten it as well now. The only thing we haven't done is there's rules in the expansion to combine everything and play like a super game of it. And we want to do that at some point. That might actually be another like good option for a 2-player stream here in the studio while we're social distancing. But we really like it, and I know we've been looking forward to more stuff for it. So Charms and Potions will definitely be something we'll pick up. We think it's like we recommend it to pretty much anybody who's at all interested in board gaming, especially if you like Harry Potter, because it actually I think does a pretty good job of bringing that theme to the forefront. Like there's been a lot of Harry Potter games, and I don't think any of them has been as good as Hogwarts Battle.
I could agree with that.
I ended up buying it on like some crazy sale from Hot Topic. I got it for like $12 or something.
Holy shit, that's awesome.
Yeah. And I was just like, I like the game enough that I'll pay $12 for it. I'm sure someone will wander through that wants to play it.
Right. Yeah. It's one of those, like, if you are familiar with deck builders and like modern board games, it's kind of unfortunate you can't really get the full effect of, well, you can, but it's not as satisfying to get the full effect of playing through each movie in the base game. I think we've talked about this before, that like it really starts at like they assume you bought this because it says Harry Potter and you have no fucking clue how to play a deck builder at all. And so like year 1 is the most basic of deck building experiences. It doesn't.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Zach.
I was gonna say my when I played this with my mom, she was able to get it from the first year. But it was definitely if I had started her off on the 3rd year or even higher up, that definitely might have been too much from her. So I did appreciate that they had the very basic at least.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely like go off that assumption that you're buying this because you are a Harry Potter fan, not because you're a board game fan. And it shows like in those first few. So if you are really experienced with deck builders and things, you can start at like, I think they even say like if you're an experienced player, you can start at year 3.
Yep.
Which if you're both an experienced player and a fan of Harry Potter, that's a little unfortunate because you don't quite get it's not as satisfying to play through like years 1, 2, and even sort of 3. But after that, it does start to really get good, and especially with the expansions, it's a solid cooperative deck builder. So, but yeah, that's a new expansion for Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle, Charms and Potions. So
Keeps on keeping on.
Yep, more stuff for it.
Last
up.
in news, we have a new Arkham Horror LCG product, which I'm personally excited about. They are going to be selling some Investigator starter decks that you can buy instead of having to buy all the stuff and then play.
Yeah. So I've played Arkham LCG, but not a lot. So feel free to step in if I start to get anything way wrong here. But typically the new
Wrong.
like as they've
Wrong. Yep, you're already wrong.
fuck you guys. The expansions they've had are like deluxe expansions that give you a lot of like new missions and stuff, and also new investigators that you can build decks for. These new investigator starter decks are going to be just ways to add new investigators to the stuff you already have. So if you don't, you want to play through some of those scenarios from the other expansions or the base game just with somebody different, now there's 5 new investigators that you can go get an individual starter deck for any of those 5 and play with them.
Yeah, so this is real nice for if you want to sort of catch up on, like you want to play the game, but you, unlike sort of like what Jeff has said many times, that he didn't want to spend $400+ getting
It's gotten
everything
out of control since when I was first even thinking that it was already out of control.
Yeah. So you can just get one of these starter decks and then just join in on a campaign, because it includes the your ready to play 34 card investigator deck, as well as 26 additional cards that can be used to upgrade your deck through a campaign. So you can just be like, I've got this character, and then you're good to go join somebody else's campaign.
Yeah, you don't have to like rifle through someone else's collection to make a deck that you want. You'll just have it, boom, ready to go. And they're all like $15 each. There's 5 different ones.
And even if you're a veteran player, this is still new characters to try out. So
yeah, they're still new cards. So it's not like they're just taking cards out of the already released expansions and putting them in these so you can play. It's actual new content.
Yep.
The only thing you don't have is like scenarios to play.
Yeah, somebody has to actually have the game.
Yeah.
But otherwise,
what sucks is that like those campaigns, those scenarios are like in those actual boosters, so someone actually has to buy all of that, like that mythos pack thing to be able to get through an entire campaign. Which there's how many now?
It's so many.
Yeah.
But not only are there so many, but there's at least 2 to 3 campaigns that are returned to previous campaigns. But yeah, basically this is saying that you just need one person to make the plunge of getting all that crap, and then you could be like, well, I got my deck, so let's just do it, guys.
Yeah.
You're right.
Which, I mean, I'm not against knowing multiple people that actually have it. And they'll be out third quarter this year, so hopefully the world will be slightly more normal by then.
We'll
or
see.
it won't, and then you won't have to worry about these.
Exactly.
There you go.
That's it for news.
So that is. Moving on to some Kickstarters.
Our first Kickstarter is A Lawyer Up. Very well funded, $116,000 of its $14,000 goal. Over 2,700 backers. About a week left to go, and you can pledge this one for $49 at its most popular level.
Yeah. So Lawyer Up is another 2-player asymmetrical card-driven kind of game. I've been seeing a lot of those lately.
Yes.
So this was designed by Sam Bailey, who did Forbidden Stars and Talisman Cataclysm, which I've heard of Forbidden Stars, and I've heard of Talisman, but not Talisman Cataclysm. And then also Mike Ganade, who did Maximum Apocalypse, The Few, and Cursed, which I've never heard of. But they've put this together. Basically, one player is going to be the prosecution, and the other is the defense. And you're going to draft evidence during the discovery phase, where you're trying to get stuff to support your side and bury evidence that would help the other side. Then you go to the trial phase where you call witnesses and play arguments that kind of goes along with that evidence. And
you're playing arguments, you're playing procedures, and you're playing materials as well. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have to chain them together using like bias symbols which I couldn't really find an example scrolling through here of like what that looked like.
So they have 6 different symbols on top, and it could just be like if it's trying to go talk about like I'm trying to remember the exact ones, but like one is like a law bias, like one is sort of a scandal bias. Others are like medical, and like different things like that. And they have like depending on what the card is, it could have any amount of those different 6 icons on there. And when you're playing the cards, you have to chain. So say if you play one that just has a law bias, you can't then play one that just has the scandal bias. You have to play something that has to touch that law. So it's basically saying that you can't just go in your cross examination. You can't just go from one side talking about one thing to talking about something completely different. You have to sort of chain it and let it flow together.
Yes. And as you kind of do that cross-examining phase or the witness phase, whoever does the best job, basically your chain that you're putting together generates influence, and whoever gets the most influence uses the difference in influence to sway the jury. And so as you go through the different witnesses, you'll be kind of doing like a tug of war back and forth with the jury, ultimately trying to, if you're the prosecution, to get them convicted, if you're the defense, to get them, exonerated. The way that kind of drafting and everything plays out should lead to different cases being different each time you play them, which is good because it looks like it's only going to initially come with 2 cases. So you have your basic defense and prosecution decks that have like some arguments that are going to be whatever, the same no matter what, like driving home the point can be used in any case.
Yeah.
But then there's additional decks that you use for that drafting section of evidence that relate to specific cases. So there's a 40 card art forgery case deck, and then there's an 89 card murder case deck. And they are like, both of those are specific cases. So the art forgery is a short case. There's 6 witnesses instead of 9, and it focuses on learning the arguments procedures in the prosecution and defense decks. So it's less about the evidence and more about the arguments. And then the murder case is like a Law and Order murder trial that starts with like a wealthy debutante socialite, being found with her murdered father. And then the case is about whether or not she actually did it. And there's apparently in this one a fair amount of asymmetry between the prosecution and the defense. So the prosecution in this one can actually lock jurors to their side, where the defense can't quite do that as much. So
and it gets it is hard once the prosecution locks a juror in. There's only like one specific way you can get them out of the lock, whereas if you move them all the way up to like the rightmost part of the defense, like heavily biased towards the defense, the prosecutor can still move them down. But because it's a murder charge, at the end of the game, if even one person is swayed towards the defense side, then the defense wins.
Yeah. Which will be really kind of interesting to see that one play out. So that's what's in the base game, is just those 2. They do have some expansions announced, including
which come in that $49 pledge.
Yes. So one of them is Witch Trial, which is like going back to like the Salem Witch Trial. So like 1692 to 1693. And it's a bunch of unique illustrations by a different artist that are really good. And then now there's no jury anymore because, this wasn't exactly fair trials back then. It's an angry mob that will hang whoever they believe is a witch. So the prosecution is trying to hang 3 witnesses as witches before they run out of cards. The defense is just trying to keep the mob under control to prevent a full-on witch hunt. There's the Godfather expansion, which is back in Atlantic City in the 1920s. And so you have basically a gangster on trial for violating the Prohibition Act. And that one, again, a different, unique artist doing the artwork. and then now this one adds a dossier deck. So as you win witnesses, you're able to reveal or discard whatever the top card of the deck is. The prosecution needs to prove mafia connections by revealing those cards. And then the defense is trying to like bury those cards so that you can't, prove that he's part of the mob. And those are the current 2 expansions that they have lined up for it. So if you went with that $49 pledge that Jeff was saying there, you'd get 4 cases basically.
Yeah.
2 like modern courtroom ones, and then 2 like time period, like period piece cases.
And there's some stretch goals. So the art for the art forgery is actually a stretch goal for the base game, which has been unlocked.
Yeah.
So it went from like a mini expansion to a full blown case.
Yeah. They do also have some mini expansions unlocked. Biased variant judges that can just kind of change things up more by like having different judges. You have to play to different things. And then more forgery evidence for that art forgery case.
Yep.
That you can kind of mix in. So, yeah. I don't know. I think this sounds kind of interesting.
Yeah,
I've been really...
I was looking about the designer. He was co-designer on Forbidden Stars. It seemed like he worked for Fantasy Flight because he did a bunch of Elder Sign, some Mansions of Madness, some Imperial Assault. So he was definitely a designer that's been around for a while.
Yeah, and so the Cataclysm thing is just the Cataclysm expansion.
It seemed like he's done a ton of expansions. Like he did the XCOM expansion.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yeah. No, I watched the playthrough of it. It seems pretty cool. My only problem with it, I guess, is just like, so every piece has like flavor on it, which is cool because it's like, talking about the bloody knife or whatever, and it's, found next to Jared Fairmount in a place that has his blood, blah, like, so it gives you a little flavor for it. But then some of the arguments and stuff start, like, they have flavor on there that feels like it doesn't really relate to what you're actually talking about in a way. And so like the flavor is sort of a double-edged sword in that regard, because it can, like, it's telling you about it, which is cool, but then it tries to frame it as you would actually say it in, like, as part of your examination, and then some of it just doesn't mesh well together.
Yeah, that'd be my biggest concern with this game, is that with the limited caseload, that it, even though it might play out different, that like you'd lose some of that thematic feel over a couple plays.
Oh no, I could definitely see you losing that towards, because I mean, like a lot of games with flavor, if it's not like super steeped into the game, then you have it, you're like, oh, I'm playing it for this symbol, like I'm playing the gun for the skull symbol, then I'm going to play this one for the skull, and then, stuff like that it doesn't really, like, you're not having dramatic, oh, well, here's the gun that we found as evidence, along with the bloody knife. It's just like, oh, here's this card that does this, here's this card that does that. So.
Yep. Yeah, so I agree. That would be my biggest concern with it, but we'll see.
Indeed.
We shall.
So, lawyer up, game.
Yeah, go check it out. $29 for the cheap version, too, if you really want to get on the base version. So, next and last up?
Last up, we have Trekking the World. Very well funded, $116,000 of its $32,000 gold. Almost 3,000 backers, and just under a week left to pledge this one, which you can for $40. And that's it.
That's the one and only pledge. Yep.
So, in Trekking the World, it is basically a route planning game where you are different globe-trotting travelers trying to go to different fantastic destinations, collect souvenirs, and try and become the most seasoned traveler. You're going to score points by doing things like collecting the different souvenir sets or traveling to specific locations like the Pyramids of Giza or Machu Picchu. Each destination card is going to have an artwork illustration of a real location on one side, and then the other side will tell you details about it. They even claim that playtesters have been planning trips based on the cards, which I think is kind of funny. But it's kind of a simple game where you're just going to be moving around. It's a sequel to trekking national parks. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so basically, the way the game plays is on your turn, you move by discarding Trek cards from your hand, and you have to move every turn if you can. If not, you just skip the move phase. Then you choose to do one of 3 different things. You can draw 2 Trek cards off of the deck and add them to your hand. Or you can choose to play one from your hand in order to take a tour. Or you can play a card face up from your hand to take one of the destination cards, which is a deck that's going to have some face up cards, and you take whatever is in the rightmost spot and add it to like your group of them that you're trying to collect of, hey, I've been to these cool places. And then lastly, there's 1 or 2 journey cards. So that's going to be like kind of an variable setup aspect of the game, where each game there's going to be 2 different journey cards. And so you can take the journey action to activate one of the 2 cards that's available. You reveal 2 Trek cards from your hand that have matching icons. And then you discard them to perform whatever the action is on one of those 2 journey cards. And you're basically going to keep doing that until the end of the game, which will happen when either 5 out of the 6 region bonuses tokens are claimed, or when somebody collects their 5th destination card. So basically, it's a race to see who's can be the best traveler. So once somebody's hit 5 destinations, they're the best traveler. Then you do some final scoring, and whoever has the most points is the best traveler. So, sounds like a fairly straightforward game. I'm not super interested in these kind of games. It sounds to me kind of what's the one about traveling along Japan, like the walking Tokaido. Those kind of games don't really appeal to me in that regard. But one thing that I do really like about this game is the fantastic artwork from all of these different locations. And I'm always I'm kind of impressed with how many locations that I would not have expected. One of the cards they feature here is Salar de Uyuni. I don't really know how to pronounce it, but it's like a salt flat in South America that gets super reflective. And I know that was the thing that Megan was looking at going to when she was in South America not too long ago. And yeah, that is a really cool place that seems a little bit less well known. Some of things like Mount Fuji or the pyramids. Yeah, okay, I totally expect to see those. So I don't know.
Angel Falls.
Yeah, I want to go to Angel Falls. Yeah, I don't know. I really like the art style. I don't know if I'd actually like the game or not. Definitely try before I buy kind of a situation for me. So, yeah.
Yeah. And that's it for Kickstarters.
Indeed.
Depending on how things go, it seems like everyone's pushing their Kickstarters back. So we'll see how it goes for future Kickstarter segments.
Yeah, I've seen a few things where people say Kickstarters are funding significantly less money right now. So that'll probably be more and more that are starting to get pushed off. So we'll see what kind of, we'll try and find stuff to talk about. If we can.
We have already. So
yep.
For at least this week we did.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, I think that moves us over to some listener feedback where we get to start things off with Jeff's favorite, emails.
Emails at milehighgameguys.com if you would like to send us an email. Like this one from Matt. Titled, F you, Australia. Hi. Prepare ranty voice. Tune out for a minute if you need. If there is one thing that I always find ridiculous in this stupid, overpriced bullshit that people slap onto items because it's Australia, board games produced in China, then shipped around the world with shipping price modifiers are dumb, but I understand that scale of shipping is a factor. I get it. Still dumb. But F you, digital extra copy, price bullshit. Golf sucks. I hope your game puts you in the hole because of your greed. The point of golf is to play the least amount of golf anyway, so anything else isn't golf. Fuck you. I assume this is a game you talked about with Kaiser.
Yes.
The 18 golf, I think it was. Yeah.
Where you had to get the high score to win, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it had like a ridiculously expensive digital version that you could buy to like make golf hole, like your maps or whatever, like a course designer. That was like stupidly expensive if it was Australian, for no other reason than, hey, fuck you, Australia.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Rant over. But now my favorite part of the email. So I tried Fumble. Made an orc team called the Orc R Smashians. I haven't worked out what to do, but I will soon after I finish work in a week for a few months. Hope someone will give me some idea of what to do. Love to Andrew and Ant for filling in. Hope everyone is okay with this outbreak. Ultra Mega Gundam President of the Land, Down Under, Matt.
Now we need a follow up of how Fumble went. Did you ever figure out how to do it?
I don't know. I mean,
You gotta tell us,
seems
Matt,
like
how it went.
this week. I mean, I know people that will teach you Fumble.
For sure.
If you want to play some Blood Bowl, we got you.
Yeah.
There's never been a better time to play Blood Bowl.
Especially, with all the different ways to do that online. So
Yeah. And that's emails at milehighgameguys.com.
Indeed it is. We have one other bit of listener feedback over on the YouTubes, where Paulo, with the very unfortunate update that the Area Con is in fact canceled. We had talked 2 weeks ago that they had pushed it back a little bit. Unfortunately, things have continued to be serious with this whole coronavirus and COVID-19. And so the area had to cancel entirely, which is sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm definitely glad I didn't try and plan on taking that trip there this year, though. So I'm super glad right now that I made it to Japan and back before all of this got really nasty.
Just like I'm real glad that I am not working for Lyft anymore. Like,
Yeah. So,
It's never been a better time to air travel.
Yep.
it's at least super cheap, too. I'm tempted
just saying,
to buy a bunch of tickets.
If Geekway happens, now's the time to buy your tickets to
Yes,
St. Louis.
exactly.
I was looking the other day. It was a $93 round trip.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Instead of what? Like it was like $350 or something.
Oh,
insane
man, yeah.
Something
when
like
I was
that,
looking
yeah.
last month or the month before. So I mean, but if Geekway doesn't happen, there's another $93 down the drain.
Well, so at least for me, it's just like, all right, I guess I'm violating, social distancing, and I'm going to go visit my mom.
Yeah.
There you go. Yep.
Oh, I looked at a Chicago round trip, $33.
Jesus,
Oh, my
wow.
God.
Yeah.
Wonder how cheap it is to go to New York right now.
Oh boy. You probably can't.
Yeah.
You might not be able to, yeah.
Well, I bet they're
not shut down yet.
because
Yeah.
there's probably still essential people having to fly in and out of there.
Yeah, also true. But yeah, so that's it for listener feedback. So done with that. If you would like to get a hold of us, you can do so in multiple different...
We should probably mention that our Q&A is delayed.
Well, I was going to in a bit.
Well, I mean, who knows who listens in between all that contact bullshit?
I mean, that's a fair point. Yeah, so we are pushing off our Q&A that was supposed to be this week initially when we announced it. There's a thread up on BGG where you can ask us questions because it's time for another Q&A episode, which will actually make for, I think, better content for us during all of this when we're not playing board games to be like, hey, we'll answer listeners' random questions. So we're going to push that off. It's definitely not going to be this week. Maybe next week. But probably unlikely. We'll probably push it off a little bit longer than that. We got to get Zach a webcam so that we would definitely want to do it as a stream so we can have like live Q&A with some of you.
Gotta see my face.
Yeah. And Zach really doesn't want us to see work from home Zach.
Yeah.
He's trying to resist. But we're going to force him to do it for your viewing pleasure. But yeah, so we're going to push that off a little bit, and we'll have some more information about when that's going to be when we make decisions about that. In the meantime, definitely jump over to the Board Game Geek Guild number 2731. where there is currently a thread up where you can ask us questions there. So you can kind of preload us with some questions so that when we start the stream and nobody's watching yet, we have things to, ramble about until people start jumping on. Yeah. So go ask us questions on BGG, and we will answer them sometime in the next few weeks. Yeah. Other than that, if you want to get a hold of us, there's a bunch of different ways that you can do so. You can send us emails.
Emails at milehighgameguys.com.
You can find us over on BGG, where we have that guild I just mentioned, guild number 2731, with threads for streams we do and things like that. We're not doing a lot of that stuff right now, but we're trying to play more games online and stuff. And there's actually probably, maybe we can work out some stuff where we play with like patrons and other fans of the show, and actually get them on the show with some like streaming online play or something. We'll see.
It's the remote capturing that is
tricky.
Yes.
Yeah. You can also find us over on Twitter, where I tweet under @MHGameGuys.
I am Zach_MHGG.
I am Jeff_MHGG.
We have our Instagram page @MHGameGuys. Not as much on the Instagram these days since we're not doing like live game nights
I'll just
and things.
start taking screenshots of board games I'm playing online.
There you go.
Perfect. Just take a picture of that, or no, just take a picture with your phone of the screen.
Great.
Correct. That is the proper way to do that.
Oh, that's the way you do it.
Uh-huh. We are also on Facebook, facebook.com/MHGameGuys. And we have our website, milehighgameguys.com, where you can find weekly episode posts that include all of the show notes and timestamps for the episodes and links to the different news items and Kickstarters and things like that we talk about. So go check all of that out. There's also links on all of those episode posts to our Slack channel, where we coordinate a whole bunch of different random chit chats. There's a looking for games channel that's been super hot right now with everybody trying to find different online games to play. We also have a Discord now that there is a link to in various places on the Slack. If nothing else, you can ping Zach and be like, hey, give me a Discord link. And we'll eventually get that added to like the website show notes stuff as well. And lastly, we have our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/MHGameGuys. I don't think there's anything on there right now because we haven't streamed in a few weeks. But when you're listening to this on Wednesday, there will definitely be an episode of Mile High Dungeon Delvers where we're going to be recording on Tuesday remotely. Kind of got that figured out with, I think we're going to use some Roll20 and Discord for video chat. To get some Mile High Dungeon Delvers going, and then Megan and I are going to try and do a 2-player stream sometime this week, either Monday on our day off or like Thursday or Friday, I think is the next time me and her both have the same day off. So we'll see. We're going to try and do some of that. Just keep some content flowing for you guys through all of this craziness.
I watched my favorite video game website, giantbomb.com. They've been doing a lot of home streams. One of the guys is a really good drummer and has like an awesome at-home drum set. And so he played Rock Band 4 on his drum set for like 2.5 hours. And it was great.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, that is super awesome.
Yeah.
He
also had a fantastic playlist that I have recreated in my Apple Music.
Okay.
Like games like, or songs like Closing Time.
Oh.
School's Out. Don't Stand So Close to Me.
That one's great.
Bored to Death. Stronger by Kelly Clarkson.
Yeah. So all kinds of crazy stuff like that. I've been really enjoying the like daily show with like Trevor Stewart and stuff. That's been like
Who?
them at their house. Trevor Stewart? No,
John
Trevor.
Stewart?
Trevor Noah. That's the one.
John Stewart was the previous host.
I know.
But what about Craig Kilborn?
That's too far back.
Yeah.
Sadly.
But yeah. So I've been enjoying that. Like they're just like clearly doing it from their house.
Stephen
for a lot of
Colbert's
those late
been
night
doing
stuff.
a lot of that on Twitter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart's been reading William Shakespeare's sonnets in order, one a day. Conan is going to be doing a home thing now, I think.
Seth Meyers is doing stuff from home
Yeah.
for
Everyone's doing
whatever
everything
his
from
show is. Yep.
Except Zach's the only one here that's actually going to be working from home.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah, no, I'm essential personnel for a medical device company, so we're going to be working all the way. Well, we're going to try and work all the way through it. We get a lot of parts from Italy that we haven't been able to get in a while, and also we are having a shit ton of people just decide to not come to fucking work anymore. So
Great.
we'll see how long we can stay open.
Yeah.
But yeah, huzzah.
Huzzah.
Anyway, that pretty much wraps everything up. As always, we would like to thank you, our fans, for sticking with us through all of this. We're going to keep trying to find ways to put out awesome content and, give you something else to focus on during all of this crazy shit that's happening in the world right now. And ultimately, I'm sure we'll all get through it somehow, some way, and come out the other side. Yeah, I mean, it's not, the world's not going to end,
Civilization
but
might be bumpy.
yeah, it's not boding well for the U.S. right now. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna try and be here through it as much as we can. Helping to give you something to maybe laugh about and joke about, and distract you for a little bit. And then we also want to take this time to thank our sponsors for their continued sponsorship of the show. Gray Fox Games has been standing by us for a while, and they're still with us here. We very poor timing got a big shipment of games from them to stream and play and review right about the time we decided that it would be best to not come meet in the same studio.
Yeah.
So that's something else I might do while Megan's going to work most of the middle of the week. So maybe I'll just do some unboxings and stuff, so you can check out some of their different games. Especially
we got,
their
Reavers, we got Zoned Out, the
draw your own
Draw
conclusions.
Your own conclusions.
Yeah.
I wanted to say jump to your own conclusions, but that's a different thing.
That's Office Space.
Yes.
But yeah, so Reavers of Midgard, one of their most recent Kickstarters that's shipping out to everybody, the sequel to Champions of Midgard that we all, for the most part, liked. And then Zoned Out, which is one of their latest that is currently shipping to all of its backers. And then Draw Your Own Conclusions. We talked about a little fun.
At PAX, I saw it at PAX Unplugged.
Yeah. So got all of those coming. If you're interested in any of those, you can jump over to their website, grayfoxgames.com, where you can place pre-orders and orders for all three of those games. So
Indeed.
Go do that if you're looking for more stuff to play while you're stuck at home.
There's never been a better time to stay at home and play board games.
Yeah. This is like the only time in my life I've been jealous of people who have like teenage kids. Because it's like, then I'd have more people to who are forced to be in the house with me and play board games with me.
I'm not going to play board games with you, Dad. I have to go listen to Nickelback.
Oh.
Then you could be really disappointed in your child.
Oh man.
Now we know how your parents felt.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Well, your kids are only going to like really thematic area control games, Adrian.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they'll be like, all right, Dad, we'll play with you, but you have to play this really classic game.
Rising Sun.
Rising Sun. Like, fuck. It all went awry. Anyway, Jeff, do you have a prepared statement about our sponsors?
Of course. Gray Fox Games. Quality games, cleverly crafted. Also, 007 is the biggest thing to come out of England since the Mayflower. I wouldn't be surprised if they made 20 more of those movies.
Nice. Right on.
That quote was from the 60s, so I'm sure. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that wraps everything up. So we are out of here. Our first ever all remote, separate from each other, social distance stream episode done in the box.
Done and done.
Yep. So we'll be back with more content and more episodes in the future. Thanks everybody for listening. As always, I've been your host, Adrian.
I'm still Zach.
And I'm Commuter Jeff.
Bye.
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 Media, where we all
bring something
to the table. Pull up a chair
at punchboardmedia.com.